The Tampa Bay Buccaneers have had the third most wins since 2020. They have had the fourth most regular season wins since 2020. And if you look at their roster, they are number 3 on highest percentage of homegrown talent, which means they have drafted or signed undrafted guys themselves who are now playing. The general manager of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers is the architect of this team, and he is joining us on the season with Peter Schrager. Mr. Jason Licht, GM of the Bucs. How we doing?
Doing great, man. Appreciate you having me on.
I figured the only time I can get you is during the bye week, and it certainly helps when the team is 3-1 as opposed to a different record. But you and I have known each other for many years, and I have to say the Tom Brady stuff was great, and of course last year getting there was great. To see this team at the top of the NFC South standings as we head towards the bye, I don't think a lot of people saw that, me included. How proud are you of this team first month of football?
Well, first of all, we've got a long season ahead of us.
I know.
So we're not putting the cart before the horse here, but, I'm very proud of the coaching staff, the football staff, everybody here in the building, but then the players too. But I will say that I went on record several times in training camp. People kind of were writing us off, and I said I just like the DNA of this team. I just like the way that it was all coming together, and the players wanted to prove to the world that that we still have good players, we're still a good team, and so I'm not surprised that that we started off the way we did. We have great coaches too.
Yeah, and I think it's sneaky with what the Bucs roster is, and I think a lot of people, if you looked at it from 30,000 feet, said, okay, Tom Brady was dropped in. They won. They win the next year. All right, Tom Brady's moved out of the thing, and it's like, all right, they're going to fall apart. But I'm looking at some numbers that my research team has helped put together. Most total snaps by a team's own first through fifth round pick since 2014, and it's the Bucs by a mile. And it's most total games started by a team's own first through fifth round pick since 2014, and it's the Bucs by a mile. You go through these guys, whether it be Mike Evans or Godwin or Vita Vea or Devin White or Jamel Dean, all over the guys over the years. This is homegrown talent. There's something to that. When you look at this team, do you see this as like there's a sense of pride that, hey, we drafted these guys, and for the most part, a lot of them are performing at a high level in key spots?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, that's what we in personnel, I mean, we all aspire to, as a GM, as a scout, as a personnel director, what have you. You want to grow your own. You want to bring them in. You want to develop them. You want them to understand the way that we do things as an organization. You want to give them. You want to reward them with contracts, and keep your own. And that's what we're doing. And we've got a great. First of all, the only thing I will pat myself on the back for is I've hired extremely well. That's the only thing I'm going to say that about me. That our staff has done an outstanding job, whether it's the scouts, the personnel directors, Spytech, Greenberg, Jackie. I mean, I could name everybody. I'm going to leave somebody out. But the coach.
Don't forget my boy Byron down there, one of the best scouts in the game. Give Byron some love.
Byron, he's been here for a long time, and he is incredible. So I could go on and on. So, but anyway, and our coaching staff just having the patience with these players. So it's been awesome bringing everybody being on the same page.
Yeah, and it's cool. And you even look at this team now, and Baker's the new story. And Baker, people doubted. And Baker spent time in Carolina and then was, of course, with the Rams after. And Baker looks great and competent, and you guys go into New Orleans and win. The signing of Baker Mayfield is one story. The other story is how well he has taken to this team and they've taken to him. Can you go through the Baker Mayfield experience for you guys when you were looking after Brady hung him up? Like, what's the next step?
Yeah, well, Baker, now as it turns out, Baker, he's a very, very smart person. I knew he was smart. We did our due diligence on him coming out. We weren't looking for a quarterback that year, but knew that he was smart. I didn't realize just how incredibly smart he is. And he was targeting us, I mean, maybe more than we were targeting him.
A little flirtation, if you will.
He saw this as an awesome opportunity for him. And we told him from the beginning that this is going to be you're going to be in a competition here because we really like Kyle Trask. And he didn't, as you know, Baker, he didn't flinch. He accepted that, and he just ran with it, and it was a good competition. But we saw a lot out of Kyle that we love to see too. He was did a hell of a job for us. But he is such a, even as I go around town, people go, "What's Baker like? Is he a good guy?" It's like, I don't know where this started that he wasn't a good guy. And I mean, I think you can point to a few things that maybe people got the wrong impression of him, but he's a freaking awesome dude. He is a dude. And the players saw it right away. I mean, whether he's taken the lineman to the Bahamas, during on our break during camp before the first, after final cuts, to go golf, or he's spotted around town at dive bars with a different position group, with receivers, with Mike Evans, with Godwin, with these guys. He really knows. He's not doing. It's not fake. He really knows how to be a dude with the team, and they love him.
And he lays it out there. You see him throwing blocks. You see the hit he took against the Saints on Sunday, and it's like he's going to leave it all out in the field. What's your favorite Baker story between you and him interacting? Because I know coaches who've had him, they're like, McVay had him last year for a small window, and he's like, yeah, Baker's hilarious too. He's funny as hell. Like, have you had a moment where he's had a snide comment or a sarcastic comment where you're like, this is one of us. This guy's a funny dude.
Yeah, a few. I probably shouldn't tell them on this. What's really interesting is, so I was born in this very small town in Nebraska, Fremont, Nebraska. It's about 20,000 people. It's kind of halfway between Omaha and Lincoln. And when I was young, we moved to Colorado, so I grew up in Colorado. But that's where my parents both were from, that area, and that's where my grandparents, that's where they settled and all that stuff. So anyway, when we finally agreed to terms with Baker, I texted him, "Hey, congrats, we're celebrating here, we're excited to have you." He said, "Yeah, my wife is from your hometown."
Get out of here. She's from Fremont, Nebraska?
She's from Fremont, Nebraska. So I texted my mom and my sister. They're like, "Oh yeah, the May family. Oh my God, they founded Fremont. The library's named after them. There's their names on buildings. I mean, but she's kind of a big deal in Fremont, Nebraska."
Yeah.
But anyway, she turns out she's a wonderful person. She has a suite right next to my wife's at the stadium, and which could be an issue, I guess, with when my father-in-law sits in there. When things aren't going well, he tends to. But anyway, we already warned her about that. But
you hear a banging on the wall. Don't no. That's not everything's okay. That's just my father-in-law. Yep. Okay.
But it just kind of tells you the researching, the detail he went into to know that I was born in his wife's hometown. So that's pretty cool.
That's wild. Love this team right now and love the juice that you guys have. As you look at the roster up and down and you got all these guys that you guys drafted, Todd Bowles is the head coach. And a lot of people after last year said, "Oh, I don't know if he could be the coach after a post-Brady world." And yet this team's responding to Todd. He's never going to have the soundbite that goes viral. What do you see from Todd Bowles on a day-to-day basis that you guys know he's the man for this squad?
He's got incredible patience, very focused, but he's a great teacher. So it'll be once or twice a week. You go down, I'll pop into his office, several times a day just to talk about little things, with sometimes just but it's not uncommon for him to have the entire secondary sitting in his office, sprawled out on couches and having food delivered up there, and him just having a session with them, just going over tape and just talking through
So I'm
things.
picturing this. You got Winfield, you got all these guys, and they come in and they're just hanging with the coach. It's not an instructional period where you're in a lecture situation. It
turns
casual.
into that.
Yeah, but it's casual.
But it's become like a weekly routine where he just wants to get them all on the same page. And
this is the head coach talking to a position group. I love this.
It's in his office, not in a meeting room. So that's just been common of him since he's been been here as the defensive coordinator as well. For all positions, you can see offensive players pop in and he's just he's got a very soothing way about him that makes you feel, and then very fiery behind the scenes as well.
I love that Rondé went into the Hall of Fame this year, and I love that this organization was so much a part of it. It wasn't just, oh, here's a former player. Like, I know from knowing Rondé, and I know you very well, like, he is a frequent visitor to the building. How much has Rondé Barber played a role in not only this team's young players and success, but also for you and the guys in the organization to see a former Buccaneer so active and vibrant in the team's day to day?
Yeah, first of all, Rondé quickly became one of my closer friends when I got the job here. It's going on year 10. I just love Rondé. Our families are close. And geez, you talk about the summer of George. This is the year of Rondé. I mean,
Go on.
He's feels like I've been to about 1 million parties for Rondé's Hall of Fame already. But that's well deserved, well deserved. But I was actually just texting with him a few minutes ago before I came on here about he was talking about what he was excited about the play of some of our players in the secondary. So he's always welcome here. He's such he never missed a game. He never missed a practice.
It's insane.
I never missed a practice. I mean, it's crazy. You never see that. He should be a inspiration to a lot of our players.
Yeah, and I'm sure they come in, they see him, and he's present, and it does go a long way. I go back the last 10 years with you. Obviously, we talk about the Jameis era, and then there was these seasons where there was hope, and then it just fell short. And then Brady comes, and you guys have this incredible ride. Have you had a chance to do the 30,000-foot view yet and be able to look back with proper perspective on what the Brady era was like in Tampa, or is it still too new where you're still in the whirlwind of, okay, on to the next? Or do you have a moment to appreciate just how insane those, 24 months, maybe even longer it was with Tom Brady?
Yeah, I mean, he was nuts. Really, no, I haven't yet. I mean, there's been little moments, but it was awesome for the entire fan base, for the city. We signed him. I kind of joked around with a few of the people here at one time that real estate went up in Tampa and the Brady effect, and I was wondering why we didn't get a cut from that.
Right? Come on, we got him here.
Yeah, so Rondé got Rondé Barber Day for the mayor here in Tampa. Well, why can't we get some kind of day for it? No, I'm kidding. It was phenomenal. But I will say this: it was a big turning point, obviously, in the last few decades of the Buccaneers is Brady. But I would say it's going to sound a little crazy. No offense to Brady. I mean, I don't want to minimize the effect that he had, but I think the total turning point, at least in my tenure here, was the day that I hired Bruce.
Bruce Arians. Interesting.
Yeah.
That's a kind of a take right now, and it's obviously not dismissing what Brady did, but Bruce changed the culture also.
He came in along with Todd and most of the staff, a lot of the staff that we still have here on coaching staff, changed the culture, and it was although I did know Tom from my time in New England, I was there when we drafted him. Wish I could say I was the one that told Belichick to draft him, but I didn't. But knew him from 7 years that I spent with the Patriots organization. But I still don't know if we would have gotten him without Bruce. So I think.
What was the pitch? I mean, I know you've probably told this story to others, but I don't recall it ever being on it. What was the pitch from you and Bruce to Tom Brady, who at the time we knew was leaving New England, but I remember an ESPN graphic of 14 available suitors for, and I don't think the Buccaneers were number one on that list.
It was Bruce has such a way about him. Bruce is just such a phenomenal leader, and we had a great team. We had a great base foundation, and it was basically, hey, why don't you come down here? What better place would there be to win some games and win the Super Bowl than Tampa? I don't know if that did it, but probably what sold me.
And Bruce is, he's known as the quarterback whisperer. Even long before he was in Tampa, he had a book, I think, called Quarterback Whisperer. And if you want to go through the Bruce Arians lineage, it's from Peyton Manning to Carson Palmer. You name a famous quarterback, they've had some experience. Roethlisberger with Bruce Arians. What was his pitch to Brady? More, hey, I'm going to give you more ownership of this thing where you're going to have a chance to fly, or I'm going to take you even higher and bring you back to where you were when you were winning those Super Bowls with the Patriots?
Well, no, I think he was always willing to give him some leeway to do some things the way he wanted to do them, but within Bruce's realm of things that he likes to do things. I think it was the perfect matchup, to be honest with you, where Tom was like very analytical in terms of, these are the passes that have the best chance of having success, and we're going to keep it dialed in on these things. And Bruce is more, hey, let's go for it.
We've got Mike Evans and Chris Godwin. Throw the ball. Yeah.
No risk it, no biscuit. The play right before half in the NFC Championship game.
Yeah, Scotty Miller, let's go.
Without those kind of things, we wouldn't have made it to the Super Bowl. But without Tom as well, I think it was the perfect marriage. It worked out well.
You go through that, Ron, and I'm sorry, I'm lingering on 2020. It's just such an amazing year, and we'll move on after this. But there was the wild card win, which was big, fine, and then we go through the next few. When you go into New Orleans and then into Lambeau and then beat Mahomes, when you look at those 3 games, you probably look at them as one amazing experience. But which one was the most rewarding? Because to go in New Orleans and beat Sean Payton and Drew Brees had to feel pretty good after they beat the crap out of you in the regular season. And then to go into Lambeau with Aaron Rodgers and all the hype that he was getting as an MVP. And then there's the Super Bowl, which is like, we freaking won the Super Bowl and we beat Patrick Mahomes. Which one to you do you smile the most, or maybe like at night when you're lying in bed, you're like, you know what, that was pretty damn good?
Well, first of all, I do want to let you know we're not living in the past here.
I know.
But if you were to ask me, you did ask me. I'd say just because, and I mean this with all due respect to the Saints, I hate them. They're just always just such a tough team, and
so good.
And especially going there, it's such a tough place to win, and they beat us twice that year, and we went in and beat them, and I just kind of got the sense that, I don't think they were guaranteeing everybody that they were going to win, but they just had a kind of a cockiness to them, and that when they should. They were a great team. So when we beat them, and I remember walking off the field, and I pulled out my phone and I just tweeted, "We dat." and I was like, maybe I shouldn't have done that. But then, all of a sudden, I started getting all the alerts, and I was like, this might come back to bite me. But
you didn't delete the tweet, right? You didn't delete
I didn't delete it.
Sometimes you got to be that way. All right, let's talk about this team and the way you guys have built this. Obviously, I mentioned all the homegrown guys, but one of the little things that you might not notice as a viewer watching it, you guys have 2 young draft picks in the last couple of years playing at tackle, which is the hardest position to find. And as Baker is doing this from an efficiency standpoint, you notice he's not under duress at all moments. It seems like this offensive line, even with the loss of Jensen and the loss of Ali Marpet, they're anchored by those 2 tackles, and you guys drafted both of them. Is that a sense of pride for a guy like you who builds the roster from the ground up?
Yeah, it really is. A sense of pride for all of us that were involved in the selection of those guys, of Tristan and Luke, and we're very happy with our offensive line right now. And Cody Mack and Hainsey's doing a good job for us, and then Filer, Matt, who signed this year. So
the anchor, Matt Filer, let's go.
But for Ryan, unfortunately, had the injury. He's not playing, but he still is here every day. He's in all the meetings, and if that O-line room is good and cohesive and loose and having a good time, then the whole organization seems to be running well. So it's awesome to have Ryan in there because he's rubbing off on. He understands you have to have a tone setter, and he and I had this conversation a couple weeks ago at practice. Like, you don't want the tone setter to be the quarterback. When I'm talking about in terms of setting the tone, bashing people on the field, because you don't want him to get hurt. Although Baker has been doing that, so but you want it to be a running back, you want it to be a receiver, tight end, or an offensive lineman, and we're starting to see that. You saw Luke Gadecki this weekend, pinning a player, laying on him, and just that intensity. And Cody Mauk has that in him, and it makes it. Everybody thrives off of that. So Ryan Jensen is still infusing his prickness into the offensive
Prickness. Line. I like that. And you feel his presence, the way they're playing. And then if you look at the defensive line, and this is very inside Buccaneers, I know if you're listening and you're like, okay, I mean, that defensive line is playing as well as anybody also.
Yeah, we have a great group there too, and a great rotation, and got some new players this year. Great Gaines being one of them, and he's done a great job. And so we've got we're pretty deep there, especially at outside linebacker, and we've got a nice little rotation going there. And Vita is playing well, and so we'll get our first-round pick coming back here soon, so that'll be exciting.
You know, the NFL Network has our show Good Morning Football in the morning, and Jason McCourty does a list every week of the best defensive backs in football. And I think now twice, in week 1 when you guys went into Minnesota and he made the big play, and then second was this week in New Orleans making the huge fumble, caused fumble in this one. Antoine Winfield's playing out of his mind. You drafted him in the second round, and he has often said he believed he was a first-round pick, and he slipped. What did you see from him coming out of college, and what do you see from him now playing in this pivotal year for him?
Well, we saw a really intense, athletic, smart player in college. He played nickel, he could play safety, do a lot of different things, and then you saw a lot of his dad in him. He's a very intense player, great tackler. I think he's one of the better tacklers, maybe in the, I don't want to throw out the history of the NFL.
But from that position.
From that position, just so reliable, just super, super, super reliable. Great guy too. So very fortunate we have him.
Okay, so we've done the football. Now we have to go off the field a little bit. Everyone's talking about Taylor Swift. I know you are a father of 3, correct?
Yep.
Did the Taylor Swift sensation hit your home before there was a crossover with Travis Kelce, or were you already affected by Taylor Swift this summer when she took over America for every person ages 10 to 20, and maybe now beyond that? I think it's stretched way beyond that. Have you been a Swiftie? Were you a Swiftie? Did you know of Swift before she took the league by storm?
So she played here in Tampa, and I have my wife has a suite to the games now, I guess. And so with that suite, you get to use it for anything that's at Raymond James. And
is it year round? I don't know this stuff. This is stuff that we do on the season. So you get just
we do.
Yours. Okay.
Owners are very, very, very good to us. So
okay.
And so she had 3 nights, and I didn't get to go to one, and it was packed, 20 people in it every night. Joke around, I could have made millions of dollars selling that suite, but I would have gotten fired for doing that. But,
sure.
So we had people from all over the country coming.
Friends, family, or like just people knew that the Lights have a suite and we're getting in there?
Friends, family, all Blair's friends, and my friends, my family, and my daughter and Blair went all 3 nights, I think. And anyway, so yes, Taylor Swift has been talked about in our family for quite a while. So,
okay.
But recently, before the it came out that Kelce, there was the
we don't know what they are, whatever it is. Yes.
Well, there was rumors for a little while before she showed up at the first game there last week. I asked my daughter. I said, "Hey, did you hear that? Taylor Swift and Travis Kelce might be a thing?" And she said, "Dad, stay out of her private life." Would you want someone talking about your private life? And I was like, okay.
How old is your daughter? What's her name and how old is she?
Zoe. She's 12.
Okay.
She's 12. Just defending Taylor Swift to the end of the day. So I said, well, I think you and your friends would talk about it. She goes, that's different. That's different.
Dad?
That's different.
That is so good. 12 years old. #1 story everywhere. NBC shot to it 17 times. That's not an exaggeration. But Zoe is defending the private life of Taylor Swift. And Dad, why don't you back off?
Hey, I know better now. We're not talking about her private life.
I love that. So good. Your career, we've done the story time with you on Good Morning Football, but for the listeners of this podcast, you mentioned 7 years with the Patriots. Who were some of the colleagues you had if you were to look around the league now and say, well, this guy's there, this guy's there? Obviously, Belichick is at the top of that family tree, but when you look around, and it doesn't have to be current guys, could be former guys too. Who are some of the people that you were rubbing elbows with and grunting it out as a scout at the lowest level, then moving your way up at that Patriots franchise?
Oh, there's a lot. At the Patriots, we had the scouting assistant could have been anything.
What did the job entail?
Could just getting coffee and making copies, the whole thing. And I wasn't a scouting assistant there. I started off with the Dolphins as a scouting assistant. By the time I got to the Patriots, I was an area scout. But we would still work together closely with the scouting assistants. You had Josh McDaniels, who went on to become, obviously he's the head coach of the Raiders right now. Nick Caserio, who's now, GM of the Texans. We had Matt Russell there. I could go on and on. There's Mike Disner was a scouting assistant. Now
he's now running the Lions.
The Lions. So, and then I was fortunate to work for the Eagles, where we had, I worked alongside Howie Roseman and Ryan Grigson, and we had there's quite a few very talented young people at that time.
And the Belichick relationship obviously was strong, and you went on, did your thing in Arizona, then eventually got to the Buccaneers as the GM. Belichick, as you look at the history of the game, obviously is viewed as one of the greatest head coaches of all time. In recent weeks, people are kind of knock some of the player personnel, but when you were on the player personnel side, Belichick was pretty much a savant with that stuff too, right?
Oh yeah, I've learned so much from him. He's incredible. I wish people, they have an idea that he's pretty damn good. He's best of all time. But if they were inside the walls there for as long as a lot of us have worked with him, it would blow their mind. Just the detail that he has, just with everything that he does.
Was there a particular story or memory you have if you're at a family event or you're at a dinner and someone says, "Give me a good Belichick story"? What's the one you go to?
I was just actually talking about this with my wife. So one time, you have a lot of conversations with Bill when you work with him, but there's those one personal ones that you remember, and he had me in his office. It was at the time I was interviewing with the Bears to be the general manager. This is 2011. So I was going in for an interview, and he was talking to me, kind of prepping me a little bit, and he said, when you get a general manager's job at some point, which you will, you're going to think you have it made. You think you're making a lot of money, and you're set. He said, but then all of a sudden, you're going to get a call from your wife that she needs new window treatments, and you don't realize how much window treatments cost. Okay, and then so the money it's not as big as you expect it to be, because everything else goes up too.
Yep.
And then I get the job here in Tampa, and we get our house, and then I get a text from my wife. Hey, you're going to see something go through the American Express. I got window treatments.
Word for word, the example he used is exactly right.
Exactly what happened. Yeah.
That is so good. I love that. What about the same for Brady? Someone says, "Give me your best Brady story." Is it you guys at the parade, him throwing a Lombardi, or is there a story that we might not know?
Well, so the whole time, the day that we signed him, I called him and said, because we were in that COVID, so we couldn't have him here, but I said, "Hey, there's one thing I need that you don't know about me, is I'm a better beer chugger than you are."
Yeah.
So I'm totally, ever since I was a young age.
You can chug a beer. I can chug a beer. It's what I do.
I can chug a beer. But never met somebody that could chug one faster. And he goes, no. He said, no, I got you. I go, I swear to God, I'm better than you. He said, all right, if we win the Super Bowl, let's have a chug off. So we were going to have this whole thing. It was going to be sponsored by a beer, certain sponsor and all that stuff. And he backed out. And I said, what? He goes, well, I was afraid to lose it.
Yes. He doesn't want to lose. He's Tom Brady.
He didn't want to lose.
He's Tom Brady. So we'll give you the win there with the technicality that it never happened. Okay, that's fine. I text with you a lot, and it's never really about the football stuff so much. It's more just about family and how everything's going, and I've known you for a long time. I also know you are very, very particular on game day. Players, of course, lay out their clothes, what they're going to wear. They do a prayer. They do their own pregame rotation. A general manager on game day, you have your superstitions. Can you share with the listeners and the viewers at home the Jason Light game day experience?
Now, they're stupid. First of all, I know
superstitions
are stupid. It's but I have a certain pair of shoes that you kind of have to wear that you're like, these pair had something to do with that last win. It's stupid.
What pair are they? Tell me. Is this from 2007?
No.
Rocking Doc Martens? What are we wearing?
It's got to be a new pair every year.
Okay.
You kind of retire the other ones.
Okay.
And then when I come to the game, they have a spot for the head coach, the general manager, and all the owners under the stadium, and I can't have a dirty car under the stadium because people are walking by it. So I have to go to this certain car wash on the way. And then I have to stop at the Wawa And
there's a Wawa in Tampa, Florida?
There are several Wawas now.
Really? I thought that was just a Philly thing.
No, there's one here. I have to get a diet half and half iced tea lemonade, and I have to have this eggs this sizzly sandwich. I mean, and then it's like goes on and on. So I have a lot of.
Go on, I want more. Okay, so you go from the shoes to the car to the.
All right.
And when you get to the stadium, what's the routine? Like, do you do one lap? Do you listen to a certain song? Like, where are we at?
I do. I go lap through the locker room, then I go sit in my wife's suite for a little bit and watch the pregame show, and then I go back down to the field and do the whole thing. But the biggest one I've omitted here is the week of the game. I have to at least one night on the way home stop at this dive bar. It's called the Press Box, and I have to play one round of Golden Tee golf.
Let's go
with a few of my buddies that are always in there. And I have to play one round of Golden Tee golf. Otherwise, the whole week goes. So
do you have the high score? Are you that guy?
No.
Okay.
I'm constantly trying. I won 1 week. That was it.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah, I'm not. Yeah.
So it's called the Press Box. And if you're a Buccaneers fan looking to kind of bend the ear of the general manager, your best bet is to just go to the Press Box Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. Your 1 in 5 chance you're going to see Jason Licht.
It's not long either. It won't be long. It's just one round of Golden Tee.
Yeah. One round Golden Tee. Are the wings good at the Press Box?
Oh, they're phenomenal.
What a commercial. I love this.
Yeah.
This is good.
I won't get anything free there, though.
No.
I've mentioned this before.
No, I assume
Walter, the owner, has never given me a free beer.
That's it. I assume you're keeping the Press Box open with that frequency. Before we close, it's so early. It's like this early bye week. I kind of started off the podcast with it, but like, it is one of the stories of the league that here the Bucs are, this team that some people peg to be in a total rebuild, and yet top of the division, feeling good, relatively healthy. What's the state of the nation here as we head towards the bye and you get one of these brief weekends off, and then you hit the road and you guys have to get back in business? You're wearing the creamsicles, obviously, when you first play the Lions when you get back, which is so cool. But then it's a long stretch and it's a long season. But can you take a moment to just enjoy this thing?
I mean, I'd be lying if I said no. Yeah, of course. And, I mean, there's nothing better than going into a bye after you won. So, yeah, I've got to be honest with you. You usually have the 24-hour rule, but if you're going to the bye week, you can have a few extra days. So but it's one game at a time after this. I mean, we haven't won anything yet. So it's but feeling good about where we're at. Feel like we're going to be pretty healthy coming out.
Can I tell you something? When I was a kid, my dad and I used to do this cool tradition where, like, every football season I was allowed to buy a new jersey. And this is back in the 80s and the 90s where it wasn't like you just go on fanatics.com and pick any player and you can pick it would be a thing. You'd have to go in our mall. It was a place called Going to the Game, and it was like a Champs or one of these stores. And it was the Freehold Raceway Mall in Freehold, New Jersey. And it was the 97 season, I want to say, maybe 96 season. It was the year where Warren Sapp and Derek Brooks were both drafted. So it might be even longer before that. And in Going to the Game, they had a creamsicle. You're going to love this player. Creamsicle Hardy Nickerson jersey.
Oh, yeah.
And I bought that jersey as my jersey that year. And I would wear that to school every Monday, even though the Buccaneers were not great that season. And this is before they went to the pewter and you had this like slick, cool jersey. And the creamsicle was the jersey, and I would get mocked for it because the Bucs weren't great, but I love that creamsicle. You guys wore them when Josh Freeman was the quarterback for a cup of coffee there. I remember they would do the throwbacks. It's coming back. Does the creamsicle jersey mean anything to you as it predated your time? And do you realize like what nostalgia comes along with that creamsicle jersey and that logo of the pirate with the eye patch and the whole deal? Creamsicles. Am I making too big of a deal here going down memory lane?
No, not at all. Are you kidding me? This is we've been looking forward to this forever. I mean, we've got creamsicle stuff coming out of our ears at our house right now, and
is that right?
Oh yeah.
What's the player? Because like Doug Williams was wearing the creamsicles in '79, and Leroy Selman. But like, who's the player when you think of the creamsicle Bucks? Who's the player that you think of?
Oh, Leroy Selman.
Yeah. Oh, I mean, here we go.
I mean, it's super exciting. It's gonna be a lot of fun. It's gonna be awesome.
Okay. Too much for me, I think. I want to go down like Eric Rett and start talking about all these guys and Trent Dilfer, but you're not looking to. We're living in the current, Peter, not in the past. I mean, let's go. That's it. I might want a Vita Vea throwback. I might need a Vita Vea creamsicle and rock it on Good Morning Football. Who can I talk to at the Bucks to get one of those made? Do you have any hookups or no? Is Walter at the bar able to hook me up? I don't. Yeah.
We'll see what we can do here.
Yeah, Walter at the press box and I are going to be the only two Vita Vea creamsicle jersey wearers. Jason Licht, I have taken way too much of your time during the season, a general manager. What you guys have built as a collective in that front office is nothing short of incredible. The Buccaneers are one of the most consistent teams in the NFL, and you guys just churn out draft picks that are playing on Sundays with very few busts and very few failures. I appreciate your time. Dude, good luck the rest of the way.
I appreciate it.